Hi guys, today we're going to be doing this text animation slash movie intro slash show intro kind of thing. Like what you see? Let's get to it. As is our custom, we go to Effects tab, under Effects, because it could be down here, Effects, then we bring in a Fusion Comp. We want to make the length of this Fusion Comp 30 seconds, so I'm going to press Ctrl plus D on the keyboard. On the Mac, it's going to be Command plus D, then type 30:00, enter. We have the 30-second clip. Then we go to the Fusion page while the playhead is on the comp. Click on there, drag this media out in here. Now I click on media pool. I have some images I've imported, I've removed the background from. Normally you would say, let's select all of them and just bring them in. You see it arranges it vertically and adds this merge. First things first, I don't need this merge nodes. I delete all that, but I want it arranged in a line horizontally. So I'm going to move that manually, like so. You'll see why we're arranging it this way shortly. Then we do that. It's getting long, isn't it? Yes, it is. Then we have that. So we have all of them there. So the first thing we do, let's move the media out here to the edge of the screen. And then let's bring in a background node. Let's drag the background node here. Then connect this background node to the media out. Then we have that black thing. And we click on this background node, drop the alpha to 0. Now let's go and rename all this media in nodes. Let's drag this here. Let's see what we've got. We've got a router. So I just right click on this, rename it. I'm just going to rename all of them that way. So I'm going to skip all this renaming to where you see me having renamed all of them. So I'm done renaming everything. You see this SATA cable thing wasn't properly cropped. We can ignore this because what we're going to do, it's going to be too tiny for us to even see that it's not properly cropped. So let's just ignore that for now. So now we have all of this now. So what we want to do is put all of them on top of this transparent background that we have here. So to do that, just drag this output here, drag it to this point here. It will automatically create a merge node. So we do that for all of them. So you see why we arranged it horizontally. So we now will have all of them connected. If I drag this media out here, you see we have all of them here. Now I need to be able to move all of them around. I could move them by clicking on the merge for each of them and moving them around, but I'd rather just use a transform node. It's clearer to see what node you used to move it. So I'm going to click on each of them and add a transform node by clicking on this transform button here. Click on this, transform, click on this, transform, like so to the end. We're going to speed up this part. Okay, so now we have these transforms all connected. Now you see we have routers. So the reason why we have the names is so we know what we're moving. So I'm going to click on this transform. Now before we move things around, let's do a little something. Let's move to the end of this node tree. Drag this forward a little bit. We bring in an ellipse mask. Because I want to arrange them in a circle and I want something like a reference point, let's close the media pool. Let's make this a dual viewer and drag this ellipse to the side. You can see a trace of the ellipse circle here. I just want to reduce the size a little bit, like so. So that way the thing's just around this. Maybe it's a little too much. Let's increase it a little bit. Okay. So it comes to maybe 0.432, thereabout. So I bring in a background node. I change the color of the background node to white. The color is not important. We just want to use this to align the objects when we arrange them. So I'm going to connect this ellipse mask to the background node. and connect this background nodes to this merge. So it sits on top of it. So we have this here. So each time we move all the objects, we move them just to be at the edge of the circle. So I start with the first one, the router. So first I move the router. Where is it? I can't see it. So I'm just going to ignore the router for now. Let's double click to reset it. It looks like these circuit boards are really large. So I'm going to go to the CCB, click transform. Let's reduce the size a whole lot. Like that. Maybe even a bit more. Then we can move it. Yeah, just click on the center here and drag it to the edge. It's still too big, so I'm just going to reduce it just a little bit more, like that. Then let's move it to the edge here of the circle. Now this circuit board appears to be blocking it, so I'm going to go to the second circuit board, which is CCB2. Click to transform, reduce the size a whole lot, like so, and then I'm going to move it. I can move it by moving center X and Y, but it's easier to just go to the center here and just move it to the edge. Actually, it's still kind of big, so I'm just going to reduce the size a little bit more. It's a matter of preference, but I just think it should be small. So I'm going to move this here and move this to the edge here. So I'm just going to move all of them to the edge of the circle. So now we can do the router now. I can move the router now, and then I should be able to see it. So the router is kind of big. So I'm going to reduce the size of the router, like so. Then move it somewhere to the edge of this circle here. Then we go to the next one, which is the CRT. I click on the transform and I move it to, let's say I move it to this corner here, but the size is a little much. So I'm just going to reduce the size a whole lot, like so. Then let's move it out just a little bit, like that. Then I go to hard disk drive. Let's click on that. Let's move it to the edge a bit. Then we have that. The size appears to be fine. Then we go to the keyboard. Let's say we move that down here. I can reduce the size just a little bit, just a touch, like so. Then move it down a bit. Yeah. Then the mouse, I can move that close to the keyboard. Reduce the size a bit. It shouldn't be as big as the keyboard, like that. Then the printer. The printer, I can move that up. It's kind of big, so I'm just going to reduce the size a little bit. It should still be a little big, so I'm just going to go up here, click on there, drag it up here, like so, and like so. Then we have the PSU. Let's drag that to the top here. I think the size of that is perfect. Then we have the RAM. Let's bring the RAM somewhere here. It's getting a little cluttered here, so I'm going to move this up a bit. So we go, this is the hard drive. So you see the reason why naming it is easy to find the objects. So I can move this hard drive up a little bit. Then I can go to the CRT. Then move that up just to touch. Then I can now go back to the RAM and move that up a little bit, like so. Then we have a final one, the SATA cable. I can just stick that in somewhere here and reduce the size a little bit, like so. Maybe move the printer to the side a little bit. So I go to the printer. Where's the printer? Printer, yeah. I have to move it to the side a little bit and make some space for the SATA cable. So I just go to SATA cable, move it up. Now I want these objects to be rotating about their own axis. So if for each of them, I'm going to assign a rotation constant. So to do that, instead of doing keyframe and clicking on this point and setting an angle and going to the other end and setting another angle for each of the transforms, we can just go to the transform, let's say for the router, for example, and go to angle, right click on it, expression. And let's say we say time divided by maybe 7. So if I drag this to the left viewer, you can see it rotate about that axis. So I just want it to rotate pretty slowly. So we have that for router. So if it's smaller, I want it to rotate a bit faster. If it's bigger, I want it to rotate a little slower. So for the router, I think I will increase it. So if I want to increase, I'll just reduce the division value. Let's say time divided by 5. Then I'm thinking that the next thing, which will be the CCB, this one here, should rotate faster. So I'm going to right click on the angle, go to expression, set this one to time divided by maybe, let's say 3. And then because this is rotating this way, I want this other one to rotate the other way. So I'm going to go to the CCB, which is this second CCB here. I'm just going to right click on the angle for the transform and type minus time. Minus makes it rotate the other way, divided by maybe, so that it doesn't seem to have the same rotation speed, will be divided by minus 2.5. So if you play that back, you can see them rotating, but not necessarily at the same speed. Then for the CRT, stop the play. For the CRT, because it's supposed to be big, it's going to rotate a little slower. So I'm going to right click on the angle, go to expression, type time divided by 6. Okay. Then we go to HDD, which is next to it. So I try to make sure that if this is rotating this way, the next one rotates the other way. So I'm going to go to the HDD. Because it's kind of small, I'm going to make it rotate a little faster. So I'm going to go to the transform for it. But notice that this one, the CRT was rotating anti-clockwise. So I want the HDD to rotate clockwise. So I'm going to go to transform for HDD, right click on the angle, and click on expression. Then I'll type minus, we'll make it rotate clockwise, minus time divided by, let's say 6. Because it's smaller, so I can make it 4. 4 will make it rotate a bit faster. Then we go for the keyboard. The keyboard is down here. So I can make the keyboard, right click on the angle for the keyboard expression. Let's type minus time divided by, let's say 3.5. So I try to make sure that none of them have about the same speed. Then for the mouse, I click on the transform, right click on it, expression, time divided by, let's say 3. Then this is 3. I don't want it to be exactly 3. Let's say it's 3.2. Then we go to the printer. The printer is kind of big. So I'm going to right click on the angle, click expression. I want it to be time divided by maybe 7. Then we go to PSU. Right click on PSU, expression, time divided by, let's say 6.5. Then we go to the RAM. RAM is pretty small, so it's going to be pretty fast. Right click on the angle for the transform for RAM. Click on expression. Type time divided by 1.85. And then we go to SATA cable. Right click on the angle for the transform for it and just type time divided by 1.5. The SATA cable is here, so I'm just going to put minus in front of it, like so. So now we don't need this circle again, so I can just delete all of this. We just use this to align the objects. I can delete this. So now if we play this back, you see all of them seemingly rotating randomly about their own axis. Okay, So now we have the first arrangement for everything. And the movement is not so big, but it's just keeping the thing interesting. Done with the initial animation. Now for all of this, let's move this. All of this, let me move it all down like so. And then I can select this, all of them, right click on it and click group. And I can just rename them, maybe I say object. So now we have a cleaner node tree. You can bring the media out back so everything can be on a single thing like that. But now because this looks kind of scanty, you know, if I drag this down, it's just all we have here. But let's leave that for now. So I want this also rotating either anti-clockwise or clockwise, whichever one I want. So I'm going to bring a transform node ahead of this. I'm just going to click on here, shift spacebar, bring in a transform node and add. Now for this transform node, I can just right click on angle, expression, and let's type time. Let's say divided by 10, for example. Let's play it out and see how fast that moves. The movement is pretty good. Maybe I wanted to move it a little faster. Let's say I say divided by 5. Let's see how that goes. Okay, I think I like it. So we have it moving anti-clockwise. But this kind of looks scanty. I want it to be a little crowded. So I'm just going to make a duplicate of this. But there's a way to do this. I can do it two ways. I can click on here, shift spacebar, click, create a duplicate, add a duplicate node. No, this is the wrong duplicate. Sorry. Click on this, shift spacebar, duplicate. Don't use this duplicate, use this duplicate. I'm not even sure whether you will get this because I have some plugins installed on my Davinci Resolve. Anyway, so use this duplicate and add. Now for this duplicate, make sure it's 2 copies. Now I want a situation where the other duplicate is bigger, so I can just increase the size. So you see we have that like so, but I also want the angle to be a little different. So I'm just going to turn it like so it's there. Then I want to also blur it. So I'm just going to go to blur and blur it a little bit. So it looks like the closer it is to the camera, the more blurred it is. So you can just put 0.005. Then I want it to be... Now you see the problem I have with this particular method. See how it cuts off the CRT on that side? That doesn't work for me. So what I'll do because of that is I'm going to go to duplicate, delete it. And we have another way to go around this. We can bring a transform node or a blank part here, shift spacebar, transform, and add. Or we can just drag it from here down here. Then I'll connect these objects before this transform straight here. Then bring a blur node, shift spacebar, blur, add. And then for this blur, let's just make the blur size 2.5. And then I can now go here and connect this to the output of this. Then if we drag, you see that it's now overlapping. So I'm just going to increase the size of this transform. Click on the transform, increase its size. So we have this like that. Let's say we rotate it a little bit. Make it look a bit more interesting, like so. Maybe increase the size just a little bit more, like that. So you see it's kind of blurred and these ones are sharp. That's what we want to create. So I want this also to rotate. But notice that the rotation of this particular one is time divided by 5. I want this outer one just a little slower. So it's going to be Under this transform, I'm just going to right click on angle, expression. I'll just say this one should be plus time divided by 7.5. So if we play this back, you'll see that they are both moving, but it's kind of slower. So I think I need to make it a whole lot more slower. Let me see, this one was divided by 5. Okay, let's make this one divided by 10. So I can go here, make it divided by 10. So it's significantly slower. Maybe even more slower still, divided by 20. Aha, see that difference in animation is obvious now. So now we have this plus time divided by 20, and this one is just time divided by 5. So we have that animation. So it's looking sweet already, guys. The next thing we do is have the text come in at the center here. So what I'll do is we now go and bring in a text. Let's drag this out a bit. Let's bring in a text node, like so. Connect this text node to this merge so it's on top of it, like bam, like so. Now for this text, let's just type something. Let's say editor Resolve. And let's choose a font that makes a little bit more sense. So I kind of picked this Christian font. Let's see, Christian ITC. Not sure where I got it from, but it's on my system. So basically I have this font. Generally, I think the text is kind of on the big side. So I'm just going to reduce generally the font to 0.07, maybe 0.06. Okay. Then, but I want the editor text to be smaller. So I can right click on this text, click on character level styling. The modifiers tab will light up. I click on modifiers. I select just the editor part of the text. Then I can reduce the size maybe to 0.04. So it's smaller. So we have this going. Then I go back to tools on the text. I want to add follower to it. If you right click on it, you see that follower is kind of grayed out here, but there's another way to add it. Just go to insert and click add follower. So you can add follower to it again. Now what we want to do for this follower, let's say we go to frame 20. To show here frame 20. So I can go to shading, keyframe opacity, go down to softness, keyframe the X value of the softness. Because I want the X and Y softness to move at the same time, I can right click on Y, click on expression, and connect this Y to the X. So as the X moves, the Y moves too. So at the beginning, I want the softness to be really plenty. Then I want the opacity at the beginning to be 0 too. So I want to move forward by, let's say, 20 frames. Then I want the softness to reduce to 0. And I want the opacity to increase to 1. Then I can scroll up, still on the follower, click on timing and set this delay to 2. And then I want it to happen, the order to be completely random. Then also, I just don't want the text, if you look at it, if I play it back now, they just appear like so. It looks a little bland. So I'm just going to go to the text itself, under tools, not modifiers this time, under tools. I go to the beginning of the animation, which this highlighted ticks show here. I want the tracking to be, let's keyframe this, set this to 1.1. Then let's go to frame 240 for the text and set this to just 1. So we've keyframed the tracking. And so let's go back to spline editor. So we have character spacing here, we have softness and opacity here. Click on this to zoom to fit so you see all the keyframes. Click on this to select all the keyframes. Then press F on the keyboard to just smoothen it out. Close the spline editor. So let's just see how this looks first before we move on. So it's kind of smooth stuff like that. So you see the text contracting. Now I want this to show up because you see this is blurred. I want the text to be blurred at the beginning and towards the end. Now finally get sharp. And for each time the text shows, I want it to stay for about maybe like 5 seconds. So it means from the point where it starts here, that will mean this will come to 140 frames. So by the time it gets to 140 frames, I want it to have finished the animation. So let's add just 20 more frames to it. So it becomes 160 frames. So at this point, I want the, like you saw at the beginning, I want the printer to now come and wipe off the text, and we have another text display underneath it. So what I'll do is I'll move to maybe 200. Go to this text, go to keyframes, click on zoom to fit, expand it. Now this character spacing, I can move it to this 200 point. So we have this here. So what we do is we want to create a wipe, an object wipe for the text. To get this to happen, let's go back to the objects, double click to expand it. Let's click on printer. Let's copy it like so. Let's close the group. Now I can bring the printer. Let's just increase the space here. Click on here and paste. Now for this printer, I'm going to bring a transform node like so. But you'll notice that the printer, if I drag it here, it's not exactly the size of my frame. So I'm going to bring a background node here, bring in merge node, connect this transform to the foreground like so. It's connected. Then I connect the background node here. Now for this background node, of course, I drop the alpha to 0. Let's just move it here. So we have this now displaying correctly. Let's fit. So, but I want it big so that it covers a large part of the screen. So I'm going to click on transform. Let's increase the size a wee bit, something like that. So you see it covers the text part. So I'll just go here and then I'll now connect this on top of the text like so. So it creates a merge. Let's just arrange it. Yep. You can even move this merge, this background here. Let's move this up. So you see it's on top of that. So what I will do is, I said I want this to start at frame 180. I move it up so it's completely off the screen, including this edge of the framing here. Just gonna move it all up top like that. Move it up like that. Then keyframe this. Then move forward by 60 frames. Then drag this down. I want this whole thing completely off. So like that. Now for this transform, I can go to spline editor, click on zoom to fit, click on this to select all the keyframes, and then press F on the keyboard. Not S, F, okay? So, but what we want is a situation where at the point where it covers the text disappears. So at this point, I can go to the merge, click on this blend, move forward by 1 frame by pressing the forward arrow on the keyboard, then drop the blend to 0. So right now, if we play this back, it will seem as if it came, wiped off the texts, and then we make space for another text to show. So just about the point where it starts disappearing, I want another text to show. So to get that to happen, I don't need to redo all this from scratch. I can just copy this. Instead of copying the background, we can reuse this background across. So I can just select all of this, copy, click here, paste, and just move it up. Then you can connect this to this, and then connect the output here to that. Let's position it properly. Let's connect this background to this background here. Now for this text, we can change it to, let's just change this to featuring. Make sure you click at the beginning here so that this featuring picks. Let me show you what I'm doing. You know, we did character level styling. So I want this featuring to pick up the character level editing that we did for this particular text. So I'm going to click on the cursor here and type it at the beginning. Just gently delete this editor part, and then featuring, let's say, cool text anime. Then, but you notice that we want this to now start at this point where this, because if we move this forward, you see, yeah, it's dropping. So at this point, that's when I want the animation for this to start. So I'm going to select all of this, go to keyframes, expand the ones that have a drop down, like so. Select all of them. Let me drag this up so we can see all of them. So select all of them like that. I'm just going to click and drag this forward like so. So we make it start here. So now if we close the keyframes, you'll see that it makes it easy to create this. So if I play this back now, let me increase the size. Let me increase the size here. Let's click on fit here. Click outside the node tree. Let's even pick single viewer. So let's play it back so you see what I'm saying. So you see the animation starts with Animating Resolve. Then this goes down. This one appears to cool text anime. So you see that everything kind of flows like that. Then we can keep adding more and more. Let's say I go here now. I want to create another one again. I just click drag. Let's create a final one. Wrap it up a little bit. Then click here, paste. So let's move this up. Then I connect this to this. The reason why I move it up so that we can see that it's connected. Then I can connect this to the output here again. Then connect this background node here. We can move all of this back in line, and we can change this text to maybe say starring. Just type maybe Davinci Resolve. And then we select all of this. You know, this one, let's go to where this one now is somewhere around here. So this is where I want this other one to start. So I'm going to go to, this is where I want this other third one to start. So I'm going to go to keyframes, expand like we expanded before, like that. Then we select all of these keyframes and move it forward like that, and close keyframes. So if I drag this down here, and we play, you see, we play this back. Let's click on the blank part of the frame. So we remove all those lines. Yeah. So we go here, this plays, this comes up, this plays, this comes up again, this plays. So it's pretty simple to do. Let's just give it a background, right? So let's bring the background here. Let's bring a merge node here. Connect this to the merge node. Right click on the merge node and click swap inputs. So that way the black is the background. And I don't want to give it just a black background. Let's make it a little interesting. So we go to background under inspector, type, click on gradient. Then under gradient type, click radial. Now for the start, type 0.5 for the X value. So it's at the center there. Then for the center here, click on this. Let's just pick a color. I kind of like this color. Well, let's make it kind of brighter. Something like this. Like that. Then we go to the outer part. Click on this. Make it just a wee bit darker. Like so. Something just slightly darker. Okay, some people may not like this color. I actually don't. So I'm just going to go here. It didn't look quite as nice as I wanted it to. So let's just see whether we can make it look a little more interesting. This looks a little more interesting. Let's just make it a bit brighter. I don't know. This is just random stuff. Okay, so now we have a background for it. Now there's something else we could do, right? Notice that when this text kind of shows up, it's sharp. I don't want it to be sharp. I want it to be blurred at the beginning and then get sharp towards the end of its life cycle. So if you click on this first text, for example, see that it ends somewhere around here. So just before this printer thing comes down on it, I want it to have been sharp. So let's say at this frame 160, it should be sharp already. So I'm going to click on this text and press Shift Spacebar, type blur. Now this is just jazz. It's not necessary, but just makes it look a little nicer. So for the blur node, I click on keyframe. I drop the blur size to 0, so it's sharp already. But when the text begins, which is this point here, I'm going to click on here. That's frame 20. And make sure I'll go back to that blur and make the blur size to be, let's say, 5. So if we play this back, you'll see what I'm trying to do. So when the text appears, it's blurred. Then as it contracts, then you see it gradually become sharp. That just adds a little jazz on top of it, like a little icing on that cake, if you get what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to do the same thing across board for all the text plus nodes. So I'm just going to copy this blur, copy, click on here, paste, click on here, paste. But I'm just going to make sure I move this blur to the same point where this text appears. To make that happen, I just select both of them, click on keyframes, expand this blur. So you know this blur is here. I'm just going to select this and move it to where this text starts, like that. Close keyframe, select this one too. Expand, click on keyframe tab, expand blur, select this, move it to where this text starts, and you're good. You're done. So that's it, guys. This is the whole thing. And then we play it back. Then you see we have this. It's pretty smooth stuff. Like that. So the thing about it also, I think the printer is not rotating quite as much as I want it to. So I'm going to click on transform. Let's pick this. Let's pick this 5. Let me see how that now looks when it comes through. I want it rotating when it comes through. So it's still not rotating as much as I want it to. So I'm just going to go here. Don't divide it by anything. And let's see whether it rotates when it comes through. So it rotates, but not quite as much as I want it to. So let's say times 5. Now that's going to rotate like crazy. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I want. I want it rotating like that. So I'm going to go to this transform tool. I'm just going to multiply these two by 5. These are all just minor things, you know. Makes it look a little more interesting. And times 5. Okay, so I think we're done here. If I go to the edit page, I can render in place. So I play smoothly. I allow it to render. So we finished rendering in place. Let's play it back. So this is how it looks. Pretty smooth stuff, guys. So there it is, guys. We're done with this short tutorial. Not necessarily short, with this tutorial regarding how to just do this. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. Cheers.